and another person wasn't able to get something done. So I ended up doing a lot of our work that I can't really apply to my research. Um, but I'm being paid for it, so I can't really complain. I certainly
Yeah.
haven't,
Yeah, I do
worked
whatever my
40
advisor
hours a
asks me
week
to
on it or
do.
something.
Like whatever he pays me to do, I do it.
Yeah, my advisor asked if one of the courses like 5 professors teach, and they're like, "Oh, we need to put this online, and we probably need someone to help us make course materials. Do you want to do that this summer?" And I'm like, "I'm looking for a job, potentially a house, and getting this done." I'm like, "No, I wouldn't do a good job.
No, true.
Plus,
I
I'm
mean,
terrible."
for you, you are like graduating. So I also got an offer
Mm,
for helping to make course materials, so I took it because since my lab is just in running in reduced capacity, and who knows when it will close again. So I took the
right.
offer, like, yeah, I'll do this to get some money and then figure the rest out in my own time.
No, that was smart. I'm also really bad with Husky CT and
Mm.
getting stuff online.
Well,
I'm a very much a hands-on learner, so like trying to translate that to how the kids would get, I'm like,
oh my God, yeah, I ran this lab course online this fall, this spring fall. It was a mess in the first week. It was like we even didn't know how to do the thing. Like I was like, how would the students know? Yeah. But I have a meeting. I mean, not fixed yet, but I'll have a meeting with Peter Diplock, who is the CETL director. He will let me know what they're doing to help grad TAs. So if you have any suggestions that needs to be provided from some kind of need help that needs to be provided from CETL, let me know. I'll let them know. I already told them
okay.
that we need help to prepare slides. If many of the courses will be online, and we as like just instructors doing office hours or some problem solving sessions, we also need help with making slides, and which we can post online and stuff. So let's see how that goes. Hi Sarah, what about you?
Sure. Yeah, so I was awarded a Fulbright. In a normal time, I would have been leaving for India in September, but there's a bit of a delay. So at best, I think we'll be leaving till January, and we'll see how things go with coronavirus in country. But yeah, so my husband got a job in Ohio, so it looks like we're moving there. I'll be teaching online, and I've taught online before. So I taught online in the summer last year. I taught this fall as an
Wow.
instructor of record and as a GA. So yeah, I'll be, I think, TAing an online course. So just kind of like waiting and seeing. Our department's not going to know anything about, I think, what our assignments are going to be specifically until the 26th. So just hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Deepa.
Yeah, everyone is trying to figure out those courses. They're working hard every week. They send. So right now they are in a position where hopefully next week or so they'll be able to figure all the courses out at least, uh, capacity wise. So it's a tough call to prioritize. I mean, within courses, if the faculty wants the course to be in person to be more effective, they are trying to accommodate that, but sometimes there's just not enough space or to meet the state gating conditions set by the state or the state governor. So, but they're hopeful they'll get that done soon, and then yeah, your department will then decide, I guess.
Well, I was talking about this with my advisor, and all the on-campus housing is going to be reduced capacity. So there, unless it's like a small freshman only class, I can't see how every class wouldn't have many or even most students online, you know, because how, I mean, most students live on campus. Like, how would you even, and there's going to be a lot of students who are uncomfortable going back.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they live nearby, they're probably living with their families, so they're not going to want to be going to campus and coming back. So I don't even see how they could even have classes where most of the students are there,
Yeah,
you know?
so the plan is that the housing will be binary, that you either stay in housing or not. So the capacity is now at around 70%. That's fulfilling the state gating conditions. And with housing in sorted out, the class experience will be by percentage. So as a student, you take 5 courses, right? And then maybe, or like just as an example, 3 of your courses are offered online, totally online. So you have to take them online, and 2 of them are offered in person. But if you choose not to take them in person, you can. You can take other courses, or there will be courses, or so you can take. You don't need to go to the courses. It will be go to the classes. You can take exams, and they are looking into things that will make it possible to make a course synchronously both online and in person. There are challenges with that, but you can take the courses asynchronously, most of them. So the target is to figure out a way where, so they'll have to figure everything out uh, as far as the faculty choice first. So they have to know which courses are going to be absolutely online and which course faculty want to teach them in person. Then there will be student choices, that if you don't want to go to classes, how can that be uh, accommodated? Yeah, I mean, I totally understand. Even with full capacity, not everyone stays on campus. People, like even undergrads, live off campus, and they will continue to live off campus. So there is no way that most of the classes will be in person. But the goal is to give the opportunity to have some in-person experience where it's necessary, and the rest go online, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's a real lack of transparency from the university at every possible step, which makes dealing with this really
The
difficult
issue is,
and a logistical, financial, like just like academic thing. So you have like the rumor mill on Reddit, and some student posted a questionably verifiable, advice from housing that was suggesting that the police were going to be enforcing curfew on campus, and that's quite dangerous if you're familiar with policing in the United States, right? Like, it's not great, especially for our students of color. And we have grad students who are like harassed when they're in their labs at night. So yeah, I mean, like, I'm really frustrated. I feel like it's a difficult situation. Nobody has like their pandemic like training before, because it's not every year that like we like go backwards in the epidemiological transition. Like, so this is very fascinating. Good job, pharmaceutical companies, for not being responsible. Anyway, that's my social science hot take. But yeah, I'm just kind of curious about, what's the university going to be doing to be slightly more transparent, to not be so fear mongery with these like spooky emails from Tomcat, like, because I think it's difficult and it's always like easy to criticize, but at the same time, it seems it seems like the university could be taking some steps to be more transparent, and it's just like they're not, and
I
it's creating a
understand
lot of distrust and
the
frustration.
frustration, and what I can tell you is we are trying to, or the university is not intentionally. That's my point of view as a grad student rep, uh, attending all those meetings and bringing this issue up that we need to be transparent. The university also wants to be transparent, but the and at to some point they're not transparent to everyone. The issue is that releasing the plans, it it puts them in jeopardy, that because nothing, there are many at this point, like this week and probably next week, things will work out, and then they will release announcements with concrete decisions or plans, not decisions per se, but plans that what they plan to do. The issue is before that, they if the university does not know if something is feasible, and if they announce that we're looking into, like, everything is fine, we no one wants to worry about anything, then that will fire back that they gave people false hope. So it has to first know if going online is sorry, going in person is feasible or not. That's why before the before Tom announced that the university will go in person to some capacity, they didn't release anything. And we tried to say that we need to know some things. So the the best way I could do that is through the grad conversation, where there are specific questions and I made them answer whatever response they could release without jeopardizing their internal planning process. And then after Tom announced that yes, the university is planning to go in person, then the provost also released some of the assurances that no one will have to go in person if they don't want to. That much they figured out, that they will be able to do it, but how, that's still not figured out. And I understand that these frustrations will there be for at least 2 more weeks, because we have some insights, but it it's mostly confidential, because to protect those people who does these jobs, to who plans these things. Because the issue is, and let's see, the nothing is totally confidential. Only some things, like when the Senate Executive Committee meets with the provost or the president, that is confidential. But what the Senate Executive Committee does is reported in the Senate reports. Everything, I mean, it's not line by line that whatever I said is quoted, but everything is uploaded in the University Senate website, or somewhere in that system, University Senate system. So these things are not released right now. They need to be uh, everyone needs to give us a chance, or some um, not a chance, but some time to figure this out. And because I understand that everyone has these concerns, like if what if the or there are rumors that police will put curfews, but I can assure you there will be no such thing. The dean of students and everyone involved assured that there will be no policing, or no enforcing even. So the there are
They said
ways,
that there would be no policing, like,
like
period, at
no
the university.
curfewing. Yeah. The police will not enforce any of these gating conditions at all. And
So no, I'm not talking about gating. I'm talking specifically about the dorm. So they're
yeah, in the
saying, like, in
dorm.
order, because I've worked in residence life, and like something that's really common is that, like, because undergraduates are pretty limited in their ability to police each other, having been an undergraduate resident assistant, like, it seemed like, in like, my experience, and this is I think shared across most universities, if your residents aren't behaving or following the rules, you are instructed to call the cops. It's liability management, right? So like that seemed pretty believable to me. I'm not suggesting that the police are going to be like, how would you bound off the university, right? But I think there's some pretty sincere concerns. And yeah, I appreciate that, of course, like, you can't release all plans until they're finalized. But I'm really surprised, honestly, that the university isn't doing anything to, like, comfort and allay people's fears that, like, ongoing issues of policing at the university historically are not going to be, addressed or mitigated. Is there's this really robust conversation that undergraduates are having, grad students are having. But it seems like unless we go to the administration and go to these like meetings, they're very like cordoned off and like very much like on their terms. It's very difficult to be heard. So I mean, I think there's just a lot of frustration. And something that I think about a lot, both as an educator as well as researcher, is that there's nothing wrong with saying you don't know. And in fact, that's like a very powerful like statement to make. To be like, I don't know, like we don't know, we're working on it. But I think the lack of clarity and the lack of like, transparency, be like, we don't know, we're figuring this out. Like, here's the steps we're taking. That I think is creating a lot of the conditions that are fomenting this sense of like distrust and frustration. Like, so I don't know if you can go back and tell them that, but I think that they can be doing some
convey any
things.
message you want. So how I believe things should work is what I do is when I tell them something, I present them with a solution. So how do you think the university can come up with a better communication? I mean, we have tried to better the communication wherever we deemed or saw that it's not empathic. It's the empathy is not there, or it's just looks like a straight like statement. We tried to make it right. So, but I'm hearing that there's not enough communication at all. So let's say if you wanted to know some things, let's say just 3 things, what would you want to know? So and from whom, like Tom says everything in broad aspect, because he actually has no time to figure things out. He just decides and everyone else figures out how things work out. So
Well, I think it's not so much about the 3 specific things I want to know, but something that might be really useful would be for GSS to put out a survey to people, because I'm a GA, but I have a very different experience than a graduate student who's not a GA. And they're going to have very different concerns from me, right? So, like, my perspective as a domestic GA in a social science is totally different from somebody who's in, like, MS BAPM at Stanford, or, like, whatever, who might be an international student, totally different from somebody who's, like, a domestic student in an MSW program at Hartford, right? But we're all grad students. Like, I think maybe soliciting, you're asking me what questions, what do we want to know, and talking about like we're trying to do our best to like intuit. But I think, as an anthropologist, as a social science researcher, like we don't always know. Like we don't always know the questions to ask. Like we find out when we talk to people. And I think that might require going even beyond the bounds of like who can show up to a GSS meeting or who does show up, so I guess that would be my suggestion, would be to try to solicit in a very intentional, widespread way, because you do have this incredible like access to graduate students writ large, to see what their questions and concerns are. Because not everybody can attend these meetings, especially like depending on what your work schedule is, childcare, if you've gone home, the time difference. But I think a survey might be really useful.
I thought about sending a survey, and Rob knows this, but the issue is the university itself was sending so many surveys. I tried to think of a way that would be more effective and that would not just go over or not go unseen by grad students. And so what I tried is to hold that grad conversation event where we try to answer all the questions that came through that. There are like 5-6 that are not answered that I will post in the website. And then that's why I created this thing that if someone tries to reach us out to GSS, they can talk to me, or if they want to be anonymous, they can just send a question in that forum or that Google form. So we thought about that sending out a general survey, but then the grad school sent out a survey that's not from grad school. That's from the nationwide grad school survey thing, and I myself felt that there are too many surveys, and it's just at that point, and when when we gave it a thought, at that point, no one knew about everything, and like really everything was, the semester ended and no one knew where the governor would direct us, that if he will even allow us to open the university. And at that point, if we started asking questions that we actually cannot answer or even comfort them, I felt that would make people even more if they take the time to fill out a comprehensive survey. I felt that we need to have some answers ready, but probably now with some answers we can think about that.
Well, I think what we're talking about, especially with the reverse town hall and the shared governance, I'm going to make a real simple example. All right, so we got the instructional scenarios for fall email a week ago, right? And basically, it gave all the possible options, any options I could think of. And that was June 11th. They had been thinking about it for, a month and a half. And why couldn't we have gotten that email a month earlier with a link to a survey that says, could your course be performed in this way or that way? What would you need in order to do the course this way? So what we're talking about, I think, is a whole new way of going of answering this, because it's unprecedented. I don't think that the people at the top would know the right way to handle things. And I always go back to that CARES Act business where they came up with the plan first, and it was like, whoa, and then they ended up having to change what they were doing when they realized the issues with it. So
the issue is, I will start with the first one then, the plan, the options for opening. So before they actually could figure out that if the university can open, they couldn't say that we are considering this in-person option, and they had to figure out if they can technically support in terms of capacity. So that took them a long time to figure out. And the issue is, asking everyone will not be as efficient as asking the deans. So in those planning processes.
But the deans, this is a big issue in the fees, because in an unprecedented situation, the deans only know how to operate under normal conditions, and they're not the ones in the classroom. So the problem is that if it's bounced off of them, it may sound good to them, but you're a lab TA, I'm a lab TA, and so we know that there's a lot more issues than probably what they thought. So that's one of the big issues with only sticking with the usual decision makers in a situation where we haven't faced it before.
I don't think it was up to just them to decide, or the plan was, or the intent was to just take advice from them. It was, they are a conduit of, no, it's someone posting something, some notice outside their door. They do that. The land manager, the department manager. So the thing is, if you ask everyone in the university, that there are systems in place, that there are representatives from grad students to represent grad students in every stage, and then there are faculty and staff representatives in the Senate, and there are there are these systems there because they are supposed to talk to their constituents, and the deans, they're supposed to talk to their department heads, and the department heads are supposed to talk to their faculty, and if they are considerate enough, to their TAs, if they know who will TA, or if they fit. But the communication line has to work in a way that will not jam everything. Like if you ask all the grad students, 7,000 of them, of opinions, it took a month to reach to a decision. It would have taken a year. Instead, how the system works is, I put my time and effort to raise any concerns. I do not get any concerns. I write.
Well, do you think that you're not getting concerns because you're not asking? Like, because I think the thing you're not maybe understanding, like, at least what I'm seeing as the power of the survey is that, of course, like, we don't come to a consensus with 7,000 students. That's not possible, right? But like, and of course, like, I do survey research, like, professionally. That's what I do, and like, you're never going to get like amazing response rates for surveys, right? And that's just kind of like how it goes. And if you do some like basic investigation how to do a survey, like that's like one of the first things you learn is that like you just gotta like you gotta like get it out there and like understand that not everyone's going to fill out a survey for any number of reasons, right? But like you get the data you get and then you look through it and you code it. Of course, there's going to be people who have some very unrealistic desires, right? But like the power of the survey is that it helps you see things that you're not necessarily going to see. Like you're talking about these representatives to the university, but I went to a GSS meeting, and when my representative to the university, Justin, he was like, "Oh, well, like no one needs to finish in like more than like 5 or 6 years." In my department, we always take longer. I learned a whole other language in grad school, right? And that just shocked me because I was like, "Wow, like this is my rep, and he doesn't even know about like my program." And like I was like, I had no idea, that there's a sort of like this knowledge deficit. And I appreciate that, like what you all do in the classroom is very different than what I do, right? But like at the end of the day, if you're my rep, if he's my rep, and you all don't know, like my experiences are someone in humanities, the people in the puppetry program, the people, on the Depot campus and art, like they're also part of us too. And like this is a problem. Like you're talking about this jam or this backlog with reps. Like I'm seeing a problem where my representatives are not aware of my the particular needs of people from my program.
There is
at least
platform.
Let me kind of finish actually. Thank you. So like that's my sort of concern, right? And like that's why I think of course you can't do everything, you can't make everyone happy, but these meetings are great for me because I have a stable internet connection and I have the time and I don't have a child to be here. I'm in the same time zone as you, but as much as it's easy and effective for you, sometimes things that are easy and effective are not always like maybe like going to be like the best like source of information. And like what Rob was saying, like the things that we understood to function or to work at the administrative level have changed substantially. And sometimes if we try to rely on these things, if we don't solicit enough useful information about how the classroom's functioning, what's happening, we're gonna face some like unanticipated problems. And sometimes again, like the value you get from speaking to a wide array of people is that you see the problem from every angle, right? Like, and we've seen the sort of issue of the CARES Act, what happened when there was sort of like just we're going ahead and there wasn't enough like a step back to say like, oh, what are the problems with like that approach? And like we kind of went back around and fixed it, but there was time loss. And for a lot of people, I mean, it was like a financial hardship that could have been avoided. But I feel like I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm just like, I really want to emphasize that there are just like whole constituencies, right, that are kind of just, it seems like they're like under the radar. My husband's also like yelling on his own Zoom call. I'm sorry to hear. We're a loud family.
I just don't think, Nafis, that system works right now, and I think it's by design. There's no way that I could bring concerns to you about something that I don't know about. Because so you told me that they're keeping meetings confidential. I can't bring concerns to you because they're not telling us what their plans are. And I hate to tell you, but I'm pretty sure that's all very much on purpose because it makes their job much easier if they say, well, you let us know if someone has a complaint about this, but we're going to come up with a plan first. So it doesn't work. That system would only work if we already knew what they were doing. Um, and the other thing, and I put that in that email, is that the governor's reopening plans were public from the beginning, and they were continuously changing, and he was highlighting the fact that they were going to change. We didn't even know that school was going to be fully canceled until mid-May or something like that for the rest of the summer. There is nothing wrong. They faced no issues with letting people know what the options could be by answering questions, by putting stuff out there. In fact, they got a lot of feedback from people about, I think they learned that some kind of businesses could open safely and then others couldn't, for example. And it's ridiculous because any one of us could go and file a Freedom of Information request and get the minutes of these meetings. So they aren't really confidential. It's just that they don't want to tell us what they're doing because it makes their job easier. And they may think that, I don't know, that whatever process they're using is the best way to do it, but you can't tell me with that CARES Act thing. I mean, you've never had to fill out a FAFSA. I don't think, when I talked to Justin, I don't think that he was that familiar with the FAFSA. They let us know what they were doing about that, and then that they were going to start that process days later. And it was like, there wasn't even, so for that one, there wasn't even a gap where we could let them know, hey, these are our concerns. And I just see that playing out with all these other things that they're doing it. I mean, I just think it's nonsense, them saying this has to be confidential. They got to protect somebody. Protect somebody from what? A few angry tweets? I mean, someone's going to lose their job because they said we think we can open in the fall, and then they say, you know what? To be safe, we should stay closed. No, of course not. So I think it's silly. I personally think it's silly that they don't feel that they can share what they are doing. You, Nafis, have always been very open about what you're doing, about what the deans have said to you, about what you're going to do with them. And I think that works really well. And it's too bad that we don't get that same level of transparency, from central administration.
So I'll take this in two parts about CARES Act. I'll come later. The thing that I'm hearing is that in reality we are grad student reps, but in reality we are just as busy a student as you all are, and there is no way we can know all the problems that you have if you don't bring that to us. And the way that we facilitate is that we hold GSS meetings every month, and the thing is, the communication line via email is always open. And just let me go back to the GSS meeting platform. Is if you expect that we will all know all the problems, then there will be the meetings will be redundant. Then we will somehow know all the problems and just represent them. But the platform is the GSS meeting, where you will present something, we might know it wrong, and you will correct them. No, the issue actually is this. Then we will go and present that, because the thing is, if everyone knew all the problems, there would have been no problems, because no one in reality can keep something running while everyone knows where the problem is. If the problem is known to everyone, there would have been no problem. The issue is the problems are unseen, and that's why we request these in these platforms, that if there is any concern or any issue that remains, you think should bring that there, and then we can know about it. If it applies both ways, if we don't know what the problem is, we can't solve it, and possibly we can't know all the problems from everywhere. We don't
But
even
as an
know.
elected person, isn't it like, I mean, not everybody has the time, right? Of course, but at the same time, like, and my understanding of GSS has always been that it functions to. Actually, I interrupted you. I'm sorry. I'll let you finish.
So think about let's say the Senate that forget about GSS. Think about how a country runs. If the representatives who are elected to represent in the Senate or in the House, if they would know all the issues, then the other, like their constituents who who does who are involved in politics in different ways, they won't they would be redundant. And in the same way, we have representatives from each department. I mean, we at least have slots. If no one sends them, then there's nothing we can do. But those representatives are, in theory, our conduits of information and problems and concerns from the departments. We are elected, and even if we have time, it would be and if we could send out surveys very frequently and get all the problems from the individuals or our who we serve, then the whole system will be actually redundant. Then those representatives, who represent departments in the Senate, they will have no purpose, basically. That's what my understanding is about like tiers or how representation works. That's why I abstain from sending emails or surveys to general population as long as it's not absolutely necessary to get some specifics about something. But I might be wrong, or it might be at different circumstances that we need to reach out to people even in a broader aspect. But what I was just saying is how that has been working or not working, that you can decide. But that has been the way that we have run the organization. So maybe just reaching out to everyone at once would give us better idea. But yeah, we'll definitely take that into consideration.
Well, I'd reiterate what I was saying, which is, if we don't know, so you made a great example of our elected representatives. If they started working on a bill, I mean, people get really angry when there's legislation that comes out and there's not enough time. They vote on it. This happens all the time at the Capitol. They finalize language of the legislation late at night, and they vote on it the next day before any of the public or lobbyists have the chance to like go through it. And I think the university should be doing the same thing. I think these plans, when they come out, and that way we can bring our concerns to you guys, and that system can work in that way. And like I said before, like how hard is it to put, in the announcement email for whatever next policy you're going to do, put a survey at the end, and say, would you even feel, because they said they would do partial lower capacity of the gym and whatever. Would you even feel comfortable going to the gym? I got an email from a conference, an annual conference today, and they said, we really want to have our conference, but what do you think? Like, would you come? And I thought it was great because it's like before they put in all this work to, like, I don't know, 20,000 people go to this conference, they already have some foundation to build on. And so, I mean, some of what you're saying, I'm wondering whether we should, because the union, some of the executive committees and stuff are still meeting during the summer. I'm wondering if GSS, there should be optional GSS meetings during the summer.
The issue
for this summer only because we're doing it remotely anyway, and there's so much going on,
Yes, we can.
I mean, go ahead.
We can. Yeah, we can do that if I
don't know how many people would come,
I how many people are here? Like
Yeah.
it's just the two of us. I guess my point, Nafis, directly to you is that GSS, in my experience, has largely been an organization that doles out money for grad student orgs, has prom, has Thanksgiving, um, and that's been it. Like GSS hasn't been a meaningful thing in my experience as a graduate student. I haven't seen it, and I think a lot of it is because I don't get a lot of communication from them, other than about grad prom. Like I just looked at my email because like I was just like, what emails do I get, right? Because I went to my first meeting, and I was like, oh my god, they don't know anything about my program. Like what is happening? Like where's my GSS rep? But like I looked, and it was a lot of things were about prom. A lot of things were about activities, and these are important. Of course, like we need these social activities, but like at the same time, you all. I think grad prom is incredibly infantilizing, and I would never go. But I appreciate why people do it, and
I love it.
I am not the dictator of the world, right? Like just because I won't yuck your yum, Rob. I won't yuck your yum. We all need a chance to dress up. But yeah, like I just think that because the GSS is elected, like you all do take on a special responsibility, right? Like to go out, and as much as like I understand how representative democracy works. Like I've lived in one my whole life and went to school, but at the same time, like people also do research on their constituents and go out and talk to them and knock on doors, and there's a little bit of both ways. And I appreciate that you don't want to like send a bunch of emails. Like I know like in the union sometimes we have the opposite thing where we're like, oh gosh, like are people just like deleting these emails? But it's like you can never, as you can see, obviously, between Rob and I, like one person loves grad prom, one person doesn't like it, right? Like you're never gonna make everybody happy, and that's fine. But like, you know, you're never gonna achieve sort of like the perfect approach because I don't think it exists. But like, I'm just kind of wondering like what would happen if you sent like a few more, or if the organization sent a few more emails and like did a little bit more to make itself like clearer as like a resource. Because like to me, like when I was in grad school in 2014, the union came knocking at my door, and like the union was like, how are you doing? And like they came to me, and like that was kind of like I got pulled in, and I was like, oh wow, and as I see the communication, and like that's something that really worked and helped me understand what they were doing, what their purpose was. Um, and my experiences at other places, especially I work in ISS as a student worker, like I know that the union doesn't help everybody and can't help everybody just by like the function of what it does. And like I always wonder, I'm like, what about everybody else? Like who's here, who's not going to get that support, right? Who's not a worker? And yeah, I think it's just like, while I understand like how representative democracy works, and I understand that of course you can go to your person, like sometimes, you gotta go to the mountain. Sometimes the mountain might have to come to you a little bit, like by making itself like connecting, reaching out, even just once a semester to be like, how are things? What's going on? What's on your mind? Because that's kind of the problem of any organization, any involvement thing. It's always like the same like 5% of people who show up to things, do things, come to things, like whatever. Like that's you always see the same faces around campus, right? Like and that's just kind of how it goes. But that's how it goes, I think, with everything. But yeah, and I think it's great that you're being so open and like you're having these meetings, and like the more I'm like learning, the more I'm feeling empowered to show up. But like I really had to have like somebody direct me, and I've been on campus for a long time, so like and I'm a joiner. I'm like an active, involved person. So I'm just wondering if even if that would be a survey, but like, are there ways to make yourselves more known and clearer, and then to help you be a conduit between us and the admin, and to be a conduit between more people who you represent in the admin, not just you specifically, but GSS, because that's the thing. Like, I'm really confused about what's going on. I'm feeling frustrated. I want more clarity. I want more connection between my employer and myself, and my university and myself. And like I feel like you all have this like incredible ability, I think, to do that. So I guess that's kind of like you said, you want to offer solution, you want to come with an idea. I guess it's my idea is to try it, like do this, but also offer all of these other avenues for connection.
So I understand. Yeah, what I'm hearing is that the communication lacks a lot. But then I would like to just point one thing out, and I would like your suggestions to figure this. That unlike how the union works, that they, if I'm wrong, Rob, correct me, that they select their their department reps themselves, right? Like you are selected as the CE department rep because you are just in the department and you joined GEU and you got to be the rep, or is that?
So Sarah's been active longer than me, so she can speak to the history of this. But generally, the way that positions are filled is whoever volunteers, because they're, like, I don't know if there's ever been a contested election at the GU, because it's like Sarah said, and like Nafees, and as we're seeing here, 5% or 1% of the people are the people who show up. Yeah.
So on that note, what I would like to add,
but there's votes. There's always a vote, and if you are a member of the union, you go and you vote. And we have campus-wide votes. We haven't had a contested election yet, but if there is, there's a vote. I planned elections that never happened for 3 years, or helped. I didn't plan them by myself, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, no.
So how the GSS works is the departments and the RSOs. If there is no tier 2 organization, then the academic head, the department head, they send a representative, and we have no control over it. And I wrote right after COVID, right in May, in the beginning of May, I wrote all those representatives to ask me questions so I can represent departments or grad concerns to the administration, and I only got one reply from one rep. So the issue is you were asking to reach out to the constituencies. They are my constituencies, and I wrote them a huge email about how are they doing, and just not asking like, hey, what are your questions? I tried to be to look to reach out to them because I know them. I have been involved in GSS for 2 years now, and I know many. I mean, many of them are the repeated representatives or continuing representatives. So I know them, and I personally know them, and I wrote them from the GSS President email because I'm not reaching them personally, but as just the GSS President. I received just one question. One reply with greetings and question. And then the other thing is there is a misconception, and I am trying to kind of figure this out, how to better represent GSS among everyone, that GSS is not just a funding agency. And the issue is, and Rob knows that regardless of COVID, just forget that there's no COVID. All the time, we beg for students to go to committees that everyone is talking about now, that the university has endless committees, but there's no representation. I don't know about other committees, but I know like some committees that we have strong voices because the representatives who volunteer, we can just like force people to go there who volunteer. They are fierce advocates of grad students. Like when I was in the budget committee, and that budget committee is not the university budget committee. I mean, I was in both. So in the university budget committee, the budget committee has, it is a recommend. It doesn't have the power to force anything, but it has the ways to force things. Like let's say the budget cut for athletics. We were there, and every meeting, every month, basically, the university would ask departments like athletics, the foundation, the police, and the library, everyone to justify their budget, and we can ask anything we want. Like about transparency, they had to show their Excel sheet to us, and I was the grad student rep in there. Every GSS meeting, Rob knows, I have begged that this next meeting, there will be foundation, Scott Roberts, the guy who is the foundation chairman. He will be there. I need questions. There was none. And I cannot reach every month, or because there are other committees. There are like 20. I can show you the list. And everyone begs, like, I am going into this meeting next this date. Do you have any questions? And if we send surveys to everyone, forget about COVID, like in regular time, that we have this meeting, no one will read those. So the conduit is that they have the reps that the RSOs or the departments send to us, they are tasked to reach out to their, like Rob is the transportation engineering representative. I was, before getting into like treasurer, I was the representative from civil and environmental engineering, and I would, there's Sage, and I would talk to people and learn their concerns, and then I would go to a GSS and to voice those concerns. The issue is, if the reps, if they're not involved enough, we do not get the information, and we assume, and wrongfully, but from our perspective, we don't know if there is any concern or not. I get your thing that we just don't know their concerns, but maybe we can figure out a way to make this communication smooth. Maybe we can send not so frequent but infrequent emails that please get to your reps who are these to I mean, we can even name those reps, that these are your departmental reps, that you have to talk to them to reach to us. Maybe, yeah, that can be done. But the issue is we don't have any control who comes to represent them in GSS. And that's the bottleneck like Rob was vocal to like every meeting we brought dining, we brought the architect, we brought everyone and you can ask anything there. They will either say something that's not satisfactory, but you can even grill them, like that's out of our control, but you can ask at least things. The issue is, I know, I understand that the communication has a lacking, that everyone doesn't know who to talk to reach out to us. But I like can assure you that I'm working on that for this semester, that people will know what GSS is. And it's not, I mean, we are the stewards of your fees, but that's like $16 a semester. That's nothing. And it puts a lot of toll on the treasurer to handle that money. But for you, it looks like we are just like a collector of some fees and spender of those. And
event planner, not collector of fees. I don't mind paying the fee.
No, I'm not saying that you mind.
I love taxes, don't get me wrong.
And yeah, we look like event planners, that or sometimes actually putting more work on event planners than they would have intended to. But anyway, so yeah, I do think you're right that we need to get this more out in the open, that how to reach to us. During COVID, I'll change my mind, and I'll rethink about reaching out to people to get more data. So yeah, I mean, that was one of my efforts to reach out to people to get concerns, and I had to put a lot of time, because the time frame that I wanted to get the concerns and get the answers was very short. Like, and it was on me that I didn't maybe think about doing that, but I had to get everyone on board that they will have time to answer the questions. And I'm talking about the grad conversation thing, that I put effort to send the email to everyone that if you have a concern, write me or write us, and we will get you the answer. That was one effort that took a while to, like, it had been a month from May to June. But I hear you. I will promise you that I will do what I can to get more data. So if that means sending out survey to everyone or whatever works best. But yeah, I hear you that with so much uncertainty, especially about opening, maybe I mean, financials, yes, there were a lot of concerns, and I tried to address all those. And what has been done is done. I think they would learn from these, that they need to. The issue is what Nathan told me is they were the federal government's directives were to distribute the funds as quickly as they could. And I mean, it always comes down to efficiency of departments, and in that there is no like, so transparency and efficiency, these are two different things. And I think there are parts of both in this matter. Maybe I'm not. So what they said is that and you can watch the video, by the way, it's uploaded in GSS YouTube channel. I made a YouTube channel so I can upload these videos as well, so everyone can see. I mean, if they couldn't attend the meetings, they can see whatever I say. And it's being recorded, by the way. I mean, I wrote that it will be recorded, so if you don't mind.
I consent, don't worry.
And so the thing was that the federal government wanted the funds to be distributed as fast as it could be. And with all the things going on, the fastest way they could think of is to check the FAFSA for Title IV eligibility and give it to whoever qualified. And as he said, that the federal government changed their own guidelines after a point, and that's why they had to change. I mean, they changed, as you said, several times, but one time was due to the federal government changing their guideline. And later on, they saved some money, less than 10%, but for whoever were not eligible for the first phase, or how they distributed the money, basically whoever didn't file the FAFSA. And the thing is, I can propose solutions for next things, and there are other funds that are in the Senate, I guess, the HEROES Act and some others. I will keep an eye how they plan on distributing them. But the thing is, what has been done, and sometimes we have to give the universities some benefit of doubt that they did it just because of rush or their judgment. We have to also give some credit or some benefit of doubt to their judgment, that whatever they decided at that moment to distribute the funds as fast as they could, they took the step that might have made some people angry, but I think they are open to resolve those. So what they said is, before the CARES Act fund was issued or passed the Senate, they were supporting through financial aid, through internal fundings, $100,000 a week, and they still have the second phase money. I mean, I don't know how much is left, but that's for people who couldn't file FAFSA or didn't file FAFSA. And then they then added a new form, so whoever feels that the alongside with the FAFSA there are other like needs or to fulfill other criterias, then they could give out the phase 2 money. And even then, as we asked, every question came up in that grad conversation forum. I have all the answers. We just couldn't go through all of them, but I will post all the answers question by question. So there in the event there was some questions lumped up because it was similar, but I have the answers question by question. So about transparency, I'm doing whatever I can. And about that, even, I mean, I tried to make them transparent about what they did. And the issue is, some people might think that they did it intentionally, or they were not they were not fair. But to me, it's about efficiency. It's not about intention. There's no motive for them to distribute a fund that they can't keep in a weird way or in an unjust way. So it was just inefficiency probably, and as Rob was saying, that they could have asked everyone how they can distribute it, but then their position would be redundant. Like if the university has to distribute a fund asking all the students, then the administrators they can't serve. Like there will be no purpose for them to be on charge of this. So I will make sure that next ones will be will try to satisfy everyone's need and not just follow one set of criteria. But to their defense, they figured, or they thought that that's the best way, and they just did it to get the people money as fast as they could. And yeah.
Well, I think that efficiency should never be the only metric that we use to determine whether or not something was effective, right? Because efficiency, it's efficient to use children in cotton making machinery in the United States in our labor history, right? Like, because they had smaller hands, it was faster, but it wasn't the right thing to do. That's a terrible example. Child labor example here. No, but I don't want to come across as harsh. Like, I am asking tough questions, but it's because I do want to see things be better. And I do want to be a part of a positive change and help in whatever way that's going to be. But I think that we do want to push back on the idea that what's efficient or what's easiest is the right course of action, because I think something that's worth doing is worth doing well. And what we saw with the efficiency thing of, okay, these people already have FAFSAs, was a lot of people, like Rob has mentioned, lost out. And I think to your other point, what you said, like what I'm hearing you saying is like, you're trying to be more transparent. And I think you are. Like, this is great. Like, I think it's super cool. You're going to put this on YouTube. I wish I'd remembered. I would have put my hair up. I for my film debut here. No, but I think it's really awesome. And, just please don't take me being challenging as me trying to make you feel bad or feel like you have to answer. We can disagree and still have shared goals, right? But yeah, I'm trying to think of just some things I've seen work that I think could work here. That's all. And I think it's good. I think you're talking about a lot of great points about how people need, to show up to things and come to things in order to affect change. I thought the town hall was a good start. And I think it's great you're going to post those questions and answer all of them. But yeah, I mean, I've said this to Justin before, I'll say it to you, people who like me who are annoying and ask a lot of questions, you can also be okay, do something, see me as a resource, see everybody who comes and asks these questions. We all are smart in our different ways as grad students, push people to contribute in their own special way, I think this is great. I'm really glad you're doing this. This is awesome. And I think it's awesome it's going to be posted. And yeah, I think being more open is a great step.
Yeah, what I request to grad students is give us a chance to represent, and then it's the so whatever about the maybe just the CARES Act grant, that whatever has happened, or that the process has not made everyone happy, but I need ways to make that better, and then I can actually make that happen. And what I just don't think would work is let's say if they get a fund, they can't ask everyone that how would you, or that will, I mean, they can, but that won't make it very efficient. So if I beforehand know that these are the ways that are proposed, I can propose them, that these are the ways, and that's what I do in every scenario. That why what are the solutions to this concern, and I present with some, and then I ask them for a counter offer if they think it's not possible to do. If they think it is possible to, then fine. So I will like your. I really appreciate you coming in here and talking to me and making me understand some things and think about some of the things. And I would like you to just help me figure some stuff out also with some of these issues. Just send me what your thoughts are that I need to propose. This is how it should be. Not that, I mean, at this point, I think how the university representation system works is a very complex one. It cannot be changed right now. It has to go through state legislation, and we have tried to increase graduate representation in those places, but it always goes in the bottom of the state legislative agenda. And during COVID, I guess it will be even. I mean, right now it can be done. There is no legislative session to put it through. But I would request you or urge you to reach out to as many people as you can, to reach out to me, so we can try to get through this, and then we can think about the representation. If you think, I mean, as I promised, I will try to reach out to people anyhow right now, to more and more people, but we can try fixing the representation and the communication where it lacks. I'm totally open to that, and yeah, I'll need your help. From us, just by us, it's tough to understand, because we assume that those representatives who are sent by RSOs, like the when I was there, because how we go there is we don't just jump on and run for treasure. We represent through our departmental organizations, and we think like, yeah, we are presenting all the problems, so everyone else is, and then we go, and then we keep assuming that that whatever information we are getting is the information out there or concerns out there. But I hear you, and I'll try my best to solve those. And you also just help me reaching out to people. That's my request to you.
For sure. So I was really involved with, well, I wasn't really. I was somewhat involved with the CARES Act stuff. And I gotta say, most things that I don't like about UConn is because UConn is trying to do something fast or efficiently. Basically, everything about the school that frustrates me is because they either said, this is a requirement, we have to do it. And sometimes it's true and sometimes it isn't. Or yeah, this is just the way we had to do it. So, with the CARES Act grant, I spent 10 minutes online after that email went out, and I found examples of 3 other schools I think I put there. This is in an email I sent to Nathan first. Yeah, Pitt, New Jersey, and then another one. And it was 10 minutes online. Did they ask a single student who received financial aid and filled out a FAFSA last year, hey, do you think this would work? Because that student would probably go, no, this is based on my taxes from 2 years ago. Like, what are you, crazy? So I think we have to be careful, because I'm seeing a lot of minimum effort being put in at the administration level. And I think you're making good points about you can't ask everybody. But I think they're using that as a cover to not ask anyone. You know what I mean? Like, just like it, which is crazy to me. Yeah, I mean, the fact that no one volunteers for any of this stuff, you know, it makes us appreciate you even more, Nafis, because I mean, you don't have to be doing any of this stuff. I have to remember this going on YouTube later. Be careful which, you know, stuff, not something else. But I mean, the other thing that happens in the university is, you know, sometimes things happen through other channels, and you know that's okay. You know, they had the Friday First group that was First Friday. I don't remember the climate change group that met with the university. We had that letter of demands that Manny spearheaded that got response, partially, in no small part to you and Justin bringing it to like Dean Holsinger. You know, we have the union, which is obviously a strong advocate for graduate students, but not all graduate students, which is very important, and you guys always keep that in mind, which I appreciate, because there's always a group of students who are not represented by the union, but also we have like our department heads and our advisors. And I know since this whole thing started, I have gone to many different meetings. I mean, the deans had it, right? Chasm has done it, and Dr. C. So there's a lot of different ways that this can happen, and it's okay. I also don't think you should feel the full burden of carrying this, because it isn't a job that one person can do. And you do have people, like I said, with Manny or the Friday First people that are willing to be like, I'll take this on, myself. And I don't know, sometimes it's nice when you have people like, great. That's awesome. Or, Steve Williams with the divest and defund it, he brought that to GSS, and it's like, awesome. We were glad we signed up. We were glad that we didn't have to make up our document ourselves or do all that research, because you have already done this at Harvard and stuff, anyway, that's my, wonderful thoughts on university governance. Uninformed thoughts. You think we'll get more people next week? I'll tell people to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just tell people to come, and if we post the, I'll encode the video and record it, and yeah, tell people to. If they don't want to come, show their faces. They can send me anonymous questions, and I will read them out. And I as I said, I don't care if I will not read anything, or I'll not answer anything that I don't know. I don't know, say don't know, and I will come back to you next week. But anything that I can answer, and I will have the provost on my speed dial, and he said he will be there to answer any questions if it's very pressing during this time. So I am confident I can answer many of the questions that will be constructive and for the planning and for what's coming. There are some that are not decided, and I won't just comment what's in the air, but whatever is decided. And before these meetings, I will ask the provost, and possibly he's the best person to ask what can be shared, what is okay to be shared, and I will share those. And I will, as I promised, I will reach out to more people, and I'll need your help to reach out to more people.
What I wonder is, maybe people don't realize, what a direct line you have, because I feel like maybe some people, maybe they don't know that. I'm trying to think in my mind, because they're like, well, I'll ask him a question, but maybe I'll get an answer back in a week or something. And it's like, no, the fees talks with these people a lot. He can give you the answer the next day.
As I said, some answers. The provost himself, when he heard about this initiative, he said, I will expect a text from you in this hour, and I can answer you right away. And one more thing, he wanted to reach out to people. Is reaching out to the president is not the best way to get answers, because as he is the head of the university, he is not the person who gets into the details, because that will be a lot. Knowing about everything is a lot. So the provost is the best source to, and as the executive vice president of operations, things go through his office, and the ultimate decision is with the president, but he figures things out and then takes a go, or gets a go from the president. So in times, if something needs to be answered that's pressing, he is my contact, and he is open to everyone contacting him. He promised that he'll be, and he, in my opinion, is also very forthcoming with information. And there are times that he can't say things, but as you might have seen in the video, that we all are working towards bringing information. Either people will like it or not, but we're not afraid of bringing them out. It's just, I hear you that probably the communication has not been as great as you have been expecting. So I'll work on that as from GSS, but also I will try to push it from the university communication, that what people like want to know. Maybe they just want to know that the university doesn't know about this, but it's there that these things are being taught.
Right. Thanks for talking with us for so long.
Of course, thanks for stopping
Yeah,
by.
thank you.
Hopefully
Thank
there
you
will be more
for
people, and
organizing this.
it will be even great.
I am just looking forward to the day where I can sit at a table and talk to people.
Yes.
And not my bedroom.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I miss human interaction and not staring at a downward angle on my laptop. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for organizing this. This has been really helpful. We'll see you again, I'm sure.
Yeah. See ya. Take care. Both of you.
All right,
Thanks,
bye.
Tiffy. We'll talk with you later.
Thanks, Tiffy.
Bye.